All right, Harry, tonight we're just going to go over some history in the Bible, right, and how it all got formed. So, my first question for you is this: when was the New Testament written?
Yeah, all the books in the New Testament were written between 50 and 100 AD. So some of John's writings were some of the last ones, Revelation, the Gospel, and the letters of John. Apparently, they were written in the 90s. Most of the others were written from 50 to 70 AD. So, and Jesus' resurrection, crucifixion, resurrection was at 30 AD. So typically, by 20 years later, the bulk of a lot of it was written, and by the time before the year 100, they were all written.
Okay, that's good to know. And do we know all the authors of every single book?
Actually, we do of all of them except for Hebrews. Hebrews is the one is the outlier. Paul might have written it. It could be Apollos or some
Priscilla
other
was
option.
another option, wasn't it?
Yeah, that Priscilla actually was a consideration.
Hmm.
So somebody that really knew the Hebrew faith well, the Jewish faith well, because they're trying to explain the Christian faith versus the faith. But either way, it's a well-written book, a really nicely written book, and the author is right on. So whoever it is, we're not sure, but the rest are all clearly identified.
All right. And were all these books accepted as scripture during the beginning times?
Yeah, no, there was, but actually, interestingly, the Gospels were to start with. I'll start with the Gospels. They were written, and the authors were considered really, really valid. They had done good research, good writing, and there was never ever a question as to the validity of them. And then the book of Acts, of course, was written by Luke, and that was never questioned. So we're good on those two. And then, interestingly, all of Paul's writings, all of Paul's letters have always been okay. Everybody's been good about that. But then that's where it stops. The other letters, the only ones of the rest that actually always went through was First Peter, First Letter of Peter, and First Letter of John. The rest took about 200-300 years to get totally settled. The book of Revelation, of course, is written by John, but it's a little bit peculiar. Some people resisted that. By the year 367, it was finally then it was settled at that time, and then a few years later, it was canonized to be accepted. So it took quite a long time that those other letters and Revelation were and Hebrews was accepted. They all went through a season.
Okay, I got another one for you. How come the Catholics have extra Bible or extra books in the Bible? The part before the end of the Old Testament and before the New Testament, they have some extra ones in there.
Yeah, the Apocrypha, as it's called, they were written from 10 to 300 BC. So Malachi was the last book of the Old Testament at 400, and then we have the others from 10. So they were written in that in between time. So before the Jesus, before the New Testament, and the only one of those books that is really a good book is First Maccabee. It gives you a history of the Jewish community when as to how they reclaimed the temple and the faith from Syria. So from 180 to 134 BC, those books were written, and that book was written. Sorry, and then that was so. But the books, the rest of them are pretty sketchy. But regardless, even if they were correct, and the Jews never accept Jewish people never accepted them as canonized. The Protestant Church never accepted them as canonized, and they were only canonized by the Catholic Church in 1500, well, a little after 1500, when the Protestants rejected them. Then they canonized them, but until then, they were never were. So they're kind of on the edge.
All right, and what about the Old Testament? Where do we get that from?
Well, first of all, it came from the Jews. They have kept it up completely and accurately all the way through. They were really we can trust their work. They were ferocious about keeping accuracy, and and then what was really interesting and good is 250 BC they made a point of getting a Greek Old Testament. They translated from the Hebrew and the Aramaic. and say, why was that? But it was really interesting because the Jews were traveling right across Europe and Asia and so on in every city. And the Greek was the common language of the world, like English is today. And so they made a Bible in the Greek language, which was really useful because 70 A.D. When Jerusalem was destroyed and the last of the Jews were dispersed, the Hebrew and Aramaic Bible it was really hard to keep up, and because the normal Jewish people were devastated, and now then we had all, but fortunately for all throughout all the cities of Europe, you had the Jewish community, and so from then on it thrived, and a lot of people came to the Jewish faith over all those years. They realized that they liked the idea of a living God, and the Jews were serving a living God, and they really went to that. And we have Greek Jews talking. Paul talks about everybody all through the New Testament. We talk about the Greek Jews and the people that came to faith throughout Europe and through the world, and came back to Jerusalem to celebrate the special days.
Awesome. That's really good to know. And when was the Old Testament written?
Yeah, the Old Testament was written from Malachi was 400 BC back to 1500 BC for Moses. So, and Moses wrote the first 5 books, and then the rest were from there. The only one would be the Book of Job that we're not sure on. It's kind of a special book, but and then of course one more thing: the Dead Sea Scrolls. That was really an important find. 1948. They found these scrolls hidden up in close to Jerusalem, actually at the Dead Sea. And what was really interesting about them is that those scrolls were written up time of Jesus approximately. So 2,000 years, these scrolls had been preserved, and they were still the same as what we have in our Bible today. So that was really neat. So that was so special about them. Not that they were better, is that they hadn't changed. And for 2,000 years, the Bible had been kept up. The Old Testament had been kept up, and it was spot on. So all the stuff that was written 2,000 years before was still the same. And that's the beauty of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Not that they were better writings; they just confirmed that the Bible was accurate.
Awesome. And I think it's very important for us to dive in a little bit into this and understand how pure really the Bible is.
Yeah, and one more thing on the New Testament, we have like 10, 20,000 remnants that go way back to 200-300 years after they were written. A lot of people talk about Constantine and how that things changed then, but we have many. We have maybe thousands of part Bibles and so on from the New Testament that were written way before Constantine and before 325. So we have endless detail to confirm the accuracy of the New Testament also.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for this, Harry.
Thank you.